So tonight I just want to talk to you a little bit about chasing down your dreams and doing what energizes you. I think it's really, really, really super important that in life you find something that energizes you and you go with it. Okay, so a lot of people, I had a conversation yesterday with someone actually who, it was like just a brief conversation, and like she had posted something like, oh, like how do you know when too much is too much, and like how do you know like what you're supposed to be doing, and like how do you know what your life's purpose is. That's kind of like all the stuff that we were talking about. And the thing that I've learned, and the thing that I'm learning on a daily basis, is that you really don't know, and you won't be able to figure out exactly what it is that energizes you, that excites you, until you start trying new things. As many of you know, hopefully you know, if not, I mean, if you're on this live or you're seeing this, you probably know this about me. But about 2 months ago, I got challenged to host a podcast, and I was like, at first, when it was presented to me, I was like, what? You want me to do what? And yeah, he was like, yeah, I want you to host a podcast. And I was like, I don't know the first thing about podcasting, but I did it. And, because I'm always up for a challenge, and the very core of me is entrepreneurial, even though like right now I work in a dental office, which is, it is what it is. But the very heart of me is very entrepreneurial, and I love to do new things, and I love challenges, and I love to learn. I really love to learn. And one of my things that I've learned so much recently is that I love people's stories. When I was a kid growing up, my mom was always the person, like she was like that person, like if you know Debbie White at all, like she has never met a person who's not a friend. Like she's never met a stranger. And that when I was a kid, I never really understood that. And recently, like I've become that person. And for me, it's crazy because if you know me at all, like if anyone has known me since I was like in school, like as a young kid, like I was super nerd. I mean, I'm still super nerd. See, I have my glasses and all, but like I was super nerdy. I was super shy. Like I'm not, and at heart, I'm very much an introvert. Like I'm very much someone who is an introvert. Like my batteries get recharged by being alone. It's just a fact. It's not that I don't love people, because I absolutely love people, but my batteries get charged by being alone. So anyway, so let's rewind. So a couple, like 2.5 months ago, I got challenged. Deneen, I want you to do this podcast. And I was like, okay, whatever. And the first podcast I did, the first couple, like, I'm a researcher also, like, at nature. Like, if I'm going to do something, like, I'm like one of those crazy overthinking researcher people. So I went online, like, how do you do a podcast and all of this stuff, and I got all these rules, and like they like you have to make a list of questions you want to ask the people, and make sure that you ask everyone unique question, blah 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 blah, right? So like I followed all the rules for the first like 2 or 3, well probably a little bit more than that. I followed all the rules. Like I had a list of questions, and like my first couple podcasts, they sucked so bad. Like I want to actually, I think what I'm gonna do is go back and like to a couple of the people at the beginning and like re-interview them from a different perspective. But so anyway, long story short, I'm not going crazy here. If I hadn't been challenged to host that podcast, I never would have found this part of me that loves interviewing people, that loves to share people's stories. Like literally the best 30 minutes of every day that I have is when I'm doing the podcast. And if you don't know about this podcast, I'll drop a link in here, but you should definitely listen. It's on the entertainment industry and different things like that, but I also interview entrepreneurs. And the thing I love about doing the podcast is it's the VIP Ignite podcast. I really should drop it anyway. It's the VIP Ignite podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes. You can go on to Blog Talk Radio, Spotify. You can find our podcast anywhere. But anyway, the thing that I love most about the podcast is that it really taught me to like do something scary, and that I can do it successfully, and that I can love it. Because again, like I said, like the first time I did the podcast, I did a test podcast with, I'll definitely drop the link, Courtney. I'm sorry that, like, I didn't think to do that before, but anyway, because I'm tired and my hair is all crazy. But anyway, so the first podcast I did, like, I was so bloody nervous. Like, I had the person who asked me, like, literally sitting, like, right next to me on the couch, listening in, and I was talking to someone that I had only met once, and I was, like, asking all the questions, and I sounded like a robot, and I interrupted, and it was just crazy. And then, like, the second night, it was the same thing. Like, I gave the guy 45 minutes, and God bless his heart, like, he was, like, he was the sweetest guy, talker, whatever, so it was a lot of fun. But at the same time, like, I feel so bad for the guy that he had to listen to me, that, like, we had this talk, and, like, by the end of by the end of the podcast, we totally digressed. We were, like, talking about living in South Philly and shit, and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, like, what is going on here? I'm so embarrassed. But anyway, so it was really cool, and it's like, so yes, I did get great sun. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. I actually saw the sun in Miami. It was so beautiful, my gosh. Like, I think I want to move to Miami. But anyway, I'm digressing. I even did a podcast from Miami. That's how dedicated I am. I was on vacation, and I did a podcast from the lobby of the place I was staying, okay? So, stick that in your pipe and smoke it if you don't think I'm dedicated. Just kidding. Anyways, damn, I totally lost my train of thought. So, by the end of the first podcast, we were totally, like, digressing, and I totally lost control of the situation, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun to do that, and through the podcast, I've met so many awesome people. So, the whole moral of the story is, if you are someone who is, like, lacking energy in your life, and you're trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what should I do with my life? Like, do something scary. Like, do something that you would not normally do. Like, get people in your life. Like, I'm really blessed. Like, get people in your life who push you to do crap that you're scared of. Like, this weekend, I'm traveling to upstate New York, and I'm going to be working at a beauty pageant. Me, look at this. Me, you guys know me, right? So, it's like, you need people in your life that will challenge you to do shit that scares you. So, get some people in your life. But anyway, so if you're lacking energy in your life, try to find something to do that scares you, and experiment with a lot of different things. Like, make sure that you try different things. Like, I never would have known that I love podcasting if I hadn't been challenged, and it's the best 30 to 45 minutes of my day, because it's something that exhilarates me, it gives me energy. And so what I want to challenge you, it doesn't have to be podcasting, obviously, for you. Like, if you love doing makeup, if you love doing hair, if you love writing, if you love running, like, whatever it is, try to find something in your life, if you're lacking energy, that you love. And if you're like, okay, Janine, you know what, I don't